Hello, everybody. It's me again. We are getting to the down to the wire. So we will be having more quick little interviews like this, maybe one after the other. Kind of depends on where everything lands. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I am Jen Sankey here, part of the Witch Coven, the Planning Coven at Witch City Tarot Gathering. Let's see, little housekeeping. Our tickets are running low. If you do want to come purchase tickets, that is something that you need to do immediately. And then also make sure you are booking your hotel as well. Make sure you leave yourself some time to park, to get situated and all of those things because, it's not a big town and there's a lot of things going on. So you want to leave yourself time to be able to kind of get to everything and for parking and all of those good things. So today we're talking to Angelica and we are going to get her on here right in a second. Go live. Did I hit it? It doesn't, like, when you hit the go live button, it doesn't like tell you like, oh, you hit the button. Okay. There she is. Look at you. Oh my goodness, you're so pretty.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Oh, yes. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, I'm repping from Salem. I'm actually based in Salem all year round, which is fun.
No, that's so awesome. So, everybody, thank you for coming on today. And how do you say your last name? I want to make sure I say it right.
Yeah, it's I pronounce it Cresci.
Okay. Okay, good. I was close. I was
Yeah.
really close. But I'm like, let me ask her because I kind of like, it's kind of my thing. I like to butcher people's names and then I just have to spend all the time after apologizing. So I'm like, now I'm like, just tell me because that's just, I'm gonna ruin it. It's always so great when I'm doing like tarot reviews and I'm trying to read everybody's names on the box and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna mess this up. So you are a presenter at Witch City. We are so excited. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm Angelica Cresci. I'm a coach. I'm a tarot reader. I'm kind of like a mindset and business coach, basically, as well as a tarot reader. I'm based in Salem, Massachusetts, which is really fun. I grew up in like the Boston area and then moved here for college. Salem State University, anybody? I love it, right? And yeah, and I'm really interested in like throughout all of my work, right? I'm really interested in life purpose and fate and like our strengths and motivations and in our mindset and how we kind of come into like our work. And so that's sort of what informs all my entire business, all of what I do. Yeah, that's kind of the background of how I coach and how I use tarot to identify fate and life purpose, and just kind of like help clients really jump into that. And then, that also informs the work that I do with Hades. I work with Hades really closely, and have, and teach and talk a lot about underworld magic because I find that it's not really, nobody really talks about it.
Yeah, it's not super mainstream. I totally I agree with that. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and like not a lot of people work with Hades, or well, I shouldn't say that. Tons of people work with Hades, but
Right.
there's a lot of resources, right? And so part of that is like working, with Hades and teaching about him, and he really like, he's the Greek god of the underworld, and he really does care about fate and life purpose and all of us living like our best lives on Earth, right? Before we, yeah, as we go through this journey.
No, I love that. So for people who have actually never even heard of like underworld work, can you just kind of give us a little like taste of how that goes? And, is it different than working with any other deity or, any, just to kind of give people an idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I find that when you're interested in like the chthonic realms or like the underworld or like the sublunar realms, yeah, you just kind of like get pulled into it at some point in your life, whether it be through maybe like other occult things that lead you into it, like reading tarot or divination,
Right.
Or maybe it's like through shadow work or through, yeah, getting to know yourself and your mindset better. But yeah, I find that working with the underworld or working with chthonic deity, um, is just super like transformative, and in a way it is a little bit different than working with other deity in my opinion. I kind of like most of my deities I work with are underworld or chthonic, and so
Mhm.
but I have worked with others, and it's just, yeah, I feel like there's, and I shouldn't say it's sort of a generalization, but it's sort of like I find that the chthonic deities, they're almost like closer to us, right? It's kind of like the devil card in tarot, right? It's like they have this link to us. They care about us. We come to them after we die, right? And so they really, all of them have this strong desire to help and sort of aid us and assist us, but then they also understand like our strife and our troubles a lot of the time.
Right.
So it's really, I find it's just, if you're looking for a deity that you can be really real with and that can help you with your emotions and your mindset and your life purpose, that's sort of why I'm like interested in chthonic. And I love Hades, but there's so many other, you know, underworld deities too.
Right, right. Yeah, and I love that too. That I think it's definitely like it's like they understand like human nature a little bit better because they're here more. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's that whereas some of the other ones are so up there and you know, if they, you know, most weren't humans at any point. So they just don't know. They don't get it. It's almost like angel work, you know, like most, you know, they weren't human, you know. So that makes a lot of sense, and I love that. So what is your presentation going to be for which
Sure. So I'm kind of like mixing it all together in my presentation.
Ooh, fancy. I like that.
Oh, yeah, so my presentation is all about exploring the underworld through tarot. And I've taught a whole like course around this previously, but and it's sort of large and all encompassing. And so in my specific Witch City Tarot presentation, I'm going to be talking specifically about the suit of swords and sort of
Mm-hmm.
how it's this, we can think of the suit of swords as this journey of Orpheus, as well as the journey of Persephone, um,
Yes.
first exploring the underworld. And I find that it's so true for when I read for clients and when I read for myself, thinking about the suit of swords as this underworld journey, because it really is all about just going into our minds and into our
Right.
shadow.
Right. And I love that too because a lot like the swords are actually my favorite suit.
Mhm.
But a lot of people are afraid of the swords. Like they see them and they're like, oh no, you know, you're like, night is blood, there's blood, you know. And so I like that too, so that you're just gonna kind of bring it in and be like, no, this is how we can work with it. This is what we can do with it. And I love that. It's going to kind of demystify, I feel like, the sword suit a little bit, right? Like, it's not so scary. And even if it is, that's okay. You can deal with it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And sort of like my whole like professional interest is like demystifying like the scary things, right? Like
Right.
the world stuff, the shadow stuff, the suit of swords, which I have had the same experience with. It's like one of my favorites, and every time they come up in a reading, I'm like, ooh, like this is like my client's on the cusp of something really,
Right.
really,
Like, it's getting meaty now.
yeah.
Like, we're getting to the good stuff. You know what I mean? It's not just all the fluffy, like, oh, yeah, this is what's going on. I know. I agree with you. They're 110%. And you know, Persephone is one of my faves. And, you know, I gravitate to her alternate story, not the one that's out there. So that is something that I have talked about with people before, and I really like to kind of let them know that it wasn't what they're making it out to be. You know, like she's actually pretty badass,
Yeah.
and you can be too if you want to harness that energy as well. So,
Mhm.
how long have you been reading tarot?
Yeah, I've been reading, so I'm 25. I've been
Okay.
reading tarot professionally for the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been sort of reading or learning about tarot and engaging with tarot since I was like 15 or 16. So
Yeah,
yeah, like I guess
I,
it's 10 years. It's crazy to think of it like that, but
I
professionally for,
know. Yeah, because you do, and it's like I always, I love asking people that question because I'm just nosy and I like to know. That's why I do what I do. I'm just nosy. That's what it comes down to. But they're like, well, I've been reading since I was 15, and they're like, whoa, that's really like it's a long time. Like you don't realize how long it's been a part of your life and just a part of you. So what right now, like what deck have you like what are some of your favorite decks that you like to use for your work?
Yeah, that's a great question. My two like main decks are just in their classics, right? It's just like the Rider-Waite Smith, and
Mm-hmm.
then I love the Thoth deck.
Yeah.
I'm a ceremonial magician as well, and I really just love that deck in particular, and the astrological correspondences in the Thoth deck, as well as the Rider-Waite. In a way, they're both
Right.
old ceremonial magic decks, which
It's
is
so true.
yeah.
Now, what do you think of like the hybrid decks?
Ooh,
Yeah, have you used any of those?
those are really cool. Yeah, no, those are so cool. I got a deck recently that I like. It's like the Millennium Thoth and
Mm-hmm.
or the Thoth deck, and I love that because it's like a little bit of the newer imagery. And then my other favorite deck that I use all the time, I use this one with Hades Communication. It's the Marigold Tarot.
Oh,
And
I love that one.
yeah,
Yes.
like the
That is a
summary.
beautiful deck. That is one of my top decks for sure. I
Hmm.
love that. I feel like it's just so like the images are just so deep and they have so many stories in them. So it's so much to pull from. And I really do. I like that one. That's definitely like the perfect choice for that for sure.
Yeah.
And I love, I have a little bit of everything and it's kind of a joke because I work with the Cartomancer magazine. I do interviews over there and stuff and I always say divinate all the things. So it's like a running joke with me. So if there's something new out there, I'm going to probably do something with it or I'm just going to make up something. So I'm definitely all about that and finding what works for you. So what kind of deck do you recommend that everybody bring a deck for your talk? And what kind of deck would you prefer they bring?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're focusing on the suit of swords, so
Okay.
they can totally bring decks. I'm sure people will have them with them. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, anything really. Like it's funny because I taught like this as like a big tarot school in the fall with like all of the different suits and like going into
Hmm.
all the Greek myths that might be associated with all of the cards. And I loved when students like came with all of the different decks and like indie
Right.
decks. And it was so interesting, like as I was teaching, I'm coming from the Rider-Waite or like the Thoth perspective of like the imagery. And
Hmm.
then they're like holding up a card and I'm like, this is the, myth or association with it. And it just like totally came to life in that particular like indie deck that they were looking at. So really anything you have,
Okay.
I'm really cool with.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's good to, I think that's good for people to know because I feel like with some of the talks, there is like, I'm going to be talking about ancestors. So you can use any deck you want, but I kind of prefer people decks over
Mm,
animal decks because there's a
yeah.
lot of animal decks all of a sudden. Like so
Yeah.
many.
And that's a good, like, yeah, I feel like
Right.
that might be something to keep in mind too. Yeah. I'm not like a huge
Yeah.
animal deck person in
Yeah.
particular. Yeah.
I think they're cute, and I'm creating for Llewellyn a cat deck because everybody loves cat decks, but it's like I feel that certain decks may work better for certain things. Like and I think that if you were working with maybe a cat related spirit or a deity or whatever, then that deck might be awesome for that. But for some other ones, it's not. And so just bring a little bit of everything, right? I think that's fair.
Yeah. Or
Right.
classics, new classics, whatever you want.
Right, right. So can you just tell everybody where they can find you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So come and follow me over at Angelica S. Cresci. That's my Instagram. Yeah, that's kind of like my home base. And then I also have a website. It's called riverstyxwitch.com. And it's like River Styx, like the river in the underworld. So STYX. And it's
Yes.
all in the links to my, like, it's in my link tree, right? And so
Right.
come on over to my Instagram and then you can kind of funnel through everything there.
Awesome. All right, cool. So that brought us right to our 15-minute mark. We did good. So I'm so excited to meet you. And if anybody, if you have any questions, you can put it right in the comments. Thank you for hanging out with us today. And be sure to look for Angelica's talk at Witch City, and we look forward to seeing you. All right,
Yeah.
guys, everyone have a great day. Thank you. Bye.